So I thought it'd be fun to maybe share with you my, Neville, what the hell is this thing?
This is what we call a slate in Hollywood.
Oh, really?
A digital slate. It's an actual usable piece of app software. It's great.
Cool. Well, Neville Page is joining me on this little sketchbook tour. Whoa.
It's official.
It's official. It's begun.
Action.
Action. So I thought as part of my little promo for my next workshop, which is all on drawing and sketching, I would share with you a little sneak peek at one of my sketchbooks and walk through some techniques. And these will be the sort of things that I'm going to be teaching on a one-day workshop here at the studio, October 21st. And I'll put a little link on the YouTube description for this at the end. So if you're into it and you want to come to the studio, by all means, go visit the website. So these are the typical working sketches I do. Start with a light gray marker. There's a little straight up brush pen sketch there. And then I go back over the top with ballpoint. And so these are little robots.
I want to go to this workshop.
Yeah, well, you're not. You've already know how to do all this.
I know, but still.
Neville and I used to teach this for a very long time. This perspective drawing and marker rendering classes, etc., at Art Center. So these are. This is, I think, actually for an upcoming book. I was going to do it with John Park. Still in the plan to do it, but a lot of these are on my blog now. Those are brush pen sketches, more ballpoint. Some more. And then this is typically what a sketch looks like first. And you see this guy was a loser. So it didn't get any ballpoint pen put back over the top. So you don't invest that much time in massing out something with marker before you make the decision, yes or no, I want to draw back over the top of it. There's a couple more. That guy wasn't going to go anywhere. And then, when the ones you like, then you go and spend a little more time fixing
I'm curious, on some of these, obviously there's great precision in something like this. But here, it looks like you're using some tools, at least a circle guide, or an ellipse guide.
Ellipse guides here, circle guides there. Those are much easier, and then all the rest is freehand. So, use the tools that are faster and simpler. And this is ballpoint, and that's probably a high-tech C, and that's a brush pen. So kind of mixing it up, even on the same page. Yeah, and these are the same. And then there's a big splot of ink, right? I refilled my marker before I went on this trip. I did all these in Toronto. Of course, when you take off the cap, then splat.
Oh, you took the cap off over the sketch pad.
Over the sketch pad. Yeah. That's bad form.
Apparently a lesson never learned.
Exactly. But anyway, if you look at these on my blog, of course, that's gone. And, a lot of these, I don't worry about the edges if I'm going to scan them and use them back in Photoshop, because you just go back and color dodge to white around the silhouette, and I can clean all that stuff up. And a couple of these have also been rendered. Also on my blog.
Most of my sketchbooks have this.
They just look like that.
It's
That's
notes.
the extent of your
words.
Of your drawing nowadays. It's just notes.
It's unless it's digital drawing.
These are some of the sketches I did for Blast. This one actually was the ship that got turned into the Chrome rendering. If you have that book, you'll know which one I'm talking about. There's a few more. Again, same thing. Like a 10% gray marker and brush pen back over the top. And then you find things in there too, and if you want to ignore stuff, you can do it. You can either just ignore a sketch, or you can ignore the silhouette, make changes freely, and even when you scan it, you can just do a simple levels adjustment on that and get rid of all that excess marker.
I know you're going to demo these at some point, but when you are doing this, and you start off with, of course, your very light value, that's probably like a number 2?
10, or number 1.
Number 1? Okay.
10% gray.
Do you go in with the thin lines first to establish some of the big graphic shapes, and then after that start to do the black and white with the brush pen?
Yeah, like those 2 YouTube videos I just put up. I always just start this way, so I'm just massing out something, right? Because this one's a dog anyway. It's not going to get any better. Probably,
it could.
So it might.
This might be
it. But yeah, 10% gray first, and it allows you to see the big shapes and explore. Because if you're sketching with a brush pen like that, it's black only, there's no room for exploration. It's like you hit it and it's right, or you miss it and it's there permanently forever. So this is really a flexible and friendly way to work.
It's exploratory. Completely
exploratory. Yeah. But you can end up with something that, if you adjust the levels, can look like a very finished sketch. Mm-hmm. And I'm just guessing, and you can also do some perspective construction, like these are now in perspective. And you can put in some guidelines and things with the marker that essentially disappear after you add your black ink.
But your years of experiences, how things are turning and
Yeah, I mean, in my head, I'm pre-visualizing all the sections and things, and so
Yeah.
I can guess a little more accurately because of
because I think that's one of the hard things for if you're just starting out and you're seeing a drawing like this it's got the illusion of really good perspective, but there's no construction lines that you typically would see on a bigger, more in-depth construction. It would seem like that's an impossible thing to do, but you've got years of experience of drawing.
Right.
That you can see it.
That's the
and
classic
just draw
thing.
it.
If somebody says, "How long did it take you to do that drawing?" and now I'd have to say 46 years.
Yeah. You've been drawing since you were 0?
No, not 0, but so maybe let's say like 44. Yeah, I started drawing at 2 probably. This is some production work I did for the War of the Worlds video game. So this is the concept phase of me just trying to come up with a silhouette and a proportion and stance.
So why, because a moment ago you were talking about the flexibility of gray, using
Yeah.
that 10% gray. Here you're just going straight on black.
Yeah, well, it's because the thing is, it's somewhat simple, and there was so much of it was already decided. It had to be this tripod thing. We already knew the general proportions and scale, and so it was the parameters were closer, so it meant that I could work faster,
Yeah.
and I knew more about it, and so I was kind of just redrawing the same things. And you'll see there's multiple pages of that type of exploration,
Right.
trying to find the proportions. And once I found a proportion that I liked, then went into doing things back like the other ones that are a little bit more finished. So stuff like that gets a little bit more finished.
Gotcha.
And these are the same. These are a little drone that flies around. And you see here's now I'm back to that gray marker and ballpoint. Because this was a little bit, we had some general ideas, but there's a little bit more flexibility there. So searching. And a lot of times I'll do this too. See, there's just the front view. Could be the back view, but I just draw, if I'm going to do a draft, I just draw 1/2 and then just flip it once I scan it into the computer. It's a lot faster than trying to draw both sides. Well, I mass it out in gray, but then really just detail one.
Just curious, freehand ellipse?
Nope. Ellipse guides, circle guide, circle guide, circle guide.
Okay,
All the rest is freehand.
great.
Some little spider walking thing. Again, looking for a big silhouette and proportion first. So working with a brush pen is really fast. And these are some pencil sketches that I did also for Blast. And that's really fun because as soon as you start to, when you change mediums, you start to investigate different forms because they lend themselves to that medium.
And when you say blast, you mean for the book?
Yeah, the book Blast. And it was a Blast too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. And so you'll see that these become a little bit more mechanical because of the medium, and these are a little bit more, sculpted because of the ease that you can sculpt and throw down value with pencil versus marker. So these are the same thing, marker, high-tech pen, a little bit of white gouache and a little bit of white pencil, and a little bit of black gouache, actually. For
A
the
tiny
dark
bit of
part.
blue.
And a tiny bit of blue marker back over the top just to tint the windows. And so these are the first sketches that I'll do. And again, I'm sort of guessing at the perspective, but again, from, having done lots of perspective constructions over the years, it makes it quite a bit easier.
And how's it work?
Doesn't. It works in a fantasy film.
It works as a drawing.
It works as a drawing, yeah. And then you can see here I'm already cleaning up some of the silhouette with the white gouache. It's like that hole gets cleaned
Yeah.
up. And then when I scan it, that all goes away. And then this is ballpoint and marker. And when you do ballpoint, of course, you can't really lay the marker back over the top like you can here. Here I can lay marker back over the top and sculpt some of these surfaces. But if I'm doing this sort of thing, it's going to bleed if I flood it again with marker. So here I'm thinking about packaging. And these are like the basic design sketches. And when one's going bad, it's all right. Just skip it and don't finish it. Again, another front view that, I just mirrored that in the computer. These were more ships for Blast.
What's interesting to look at on these is in addition to the big silhouette, which they all have something unique about them, you're also dealing with the graphic design quite a bit. And that's something that I think you're pretty well known for.
Yeah, that's actually a really big part of it. And what I like to do here is not worry so much about sculpting form, but really, exactly to your point, working out the value graphics of the shapes. Because especially with something that's a ship, and maybe this I'm thinking it's black and white, more space shuttle style or something, those big value graphics are really what you see first. And so I actually spend time designing those and blocking those out early.
That looks familiar.
Yeah, that became my orb ship. In fact, there's probably a sketch here somewhere, I think, coming up. Yeah, some more graphic work. Probably towards the end here is the orb ship that I did the painting of that ended up in the book. And that model should be almost done, actually, that collectible. There it is. So that was the sketch that I scanned in and then painted in Photoshop. And this guy also got painted for the book. And there's a whole bunch that never made it into the book. I always have many, many more than I actually need, which nobody usually sees unless we record it like this.
Some cool stuff.
Thanks.
It's always fun for me to, like when you show me your sketchbooks, you know, the day after you've spent an evening, to just indulge in your craft, because these are, honestly, this is beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Well, this is going to take us, I think, to the last couple pages. I just pulled these because I wanted to talk a little bit about the workshop and the perspective constructions and things I'll be talking about. This is what I defined in my description on the website as drawing versus sketching. The sketching is like the brush pen, really loose exploratory stuff. This is now, you have a much better idea of the proportions, like, you know, there's the side view of that car. And now you want to sort of treat it like you're building a model. So this is now all about putting in the guidelines, doing the perspective construction, drawing the sections through the shape, finding the center line, all of those sorts of things. So these really are more what I consider drawing, which I think more of as model building, versus sketching, which is more to me about thinking on paper, like the previous loose ones. So I hope you enjoy the tour and look forward to seeing you in my workshop.
So I think it's a wrap if we're gonna.
It's a wrap. Put that thing. Yeah, there you go.
And we
Are done.
not bad. Now, do I get fed something? Is there craft service here?
That's craft services are here now.
Okay, fantastic.